Last week we saw numbers showing clearly that the economy is crashing, with GDP growing and plunging and all over the place. Nobody knows what's happening, especially Biden. But GDP growth was plunging by more than 50% in the first quarter this year. Nobody's seen anything like that for a long time. We now have a thing called stagflation. Does anyone know what that means? It's not good. It's worse than deflation, and it's worse than inflation. Stagflation is the worst, and that's what we're in right now, which spells the death of the American dream, and that doesn't even include some of the horrible numbers we're seeing flowing in from poor and crime-ridden countries right across our southern border. They're coming in by the millions. That's why this November, the people of Michigan are going to tell crooked Joe Biden, Biden, you're fired. Get out of here. The worst president in our history. There's never been anybody like him. In the past 3 years, the average Michigan family has lost $20,000 or $30,000. Think of this, $20,000 to $30,000 thanks to the Biden inflation tax. We have a new term. It's called a new tax. It's called inflation tax. We call it the Biden inflation tax. That's what's happened, record kinds of inflation. And his price hikes are continuing to drain nearly $1,000 from the a typical family each month loses $1,000 on other different taxes. That's what he's done to you. And by the way, for the auto workers, we'll talk about it later. Your cars are all going to be made in China. Congratulations. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Chicken is up 24%, baby food is up 30%, eggs are up 50%, gasoline is up 54%, airfares are up 33%, and the 30-year mortgage rate just hit 7.6%. When I left, it was 2.6%. We had no inflation. Everything was so good. Bidenomics is flat-out economic warfare and welfare on the American middle class and low-income people. It's a disaster. If Joe Biden wins this election, the middle class loses. But if Trump wins, the middle class wins. People of low income will start their journey toward the American dream. Michigan wins and America wins. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Just days ago, Crooked Joe vowed to impose the largest tax in the history of America. It's going to be the biggest tax hike in the history of America. Biden said the Trump tax cuts are, quote, going to expire, and I'm not going to renew them if I'm reelected. He had no idea what the hell he was saying, so it doesn't really matter. That means under Biden, a single individual earning $75,000 a year will see an almost $2,000 tax hike, and a family of four earning $165,000, think of this, will see close to $3,000 in tax hikes over and above what you're paying right now. But instead of a Biden middle-class tax increase, I will deliver a Trump middle-class tax cut, the likes of which you've never seen before. And I already gave you the largest tax cut in the history of our country, larger than the Reagan tax cuts many years ago. You got the largest tax cuts in history. On day one, we will throw out Bidenomics, and we will reinstate a thing called Maganomics. I'll terminate Joe Biden's radical plan to kill Michigan's economy by repealing his insane electric vehicle mandate. Is that the craziest thing? Is that the craziest thing? Everybody's going to have an electric vehicle. By 2030, he wants everyone to have an electric vehicle. There's a problem. They're very expensive and they don't go far. Not going far is not good. Also, they're not going to be made in Michigan. They're going to be made in China. Every single one going to be made in China. United Auto Workers, I just want to tell you, the head of the United Auto Workers has really let you down. To agree with that whole situation that they just did, that's so good for China and it's so bad for Michigan. But I'm going to turn it around. We're bringing the car industry back to Michigan. We're going to put tariffs on foreign cars, and we're bringing the car industry. We're putting tariffs on foreign cars. We're bringing the car industry back to Michigan. The Biden electric vehicle mandate will be an economic bloodbath. You know, they like to use that word bloodbath now. When I said it, it was perfectly stated. They make it sound bad, but it will be an economic bloodbath. Crooked Joe will rip out your auto jobs and send them immediately to China, who, by the way, you know, he's a Manchurian candidate. He makes a lot of money from China. They give him a lot of money. What's that all about? Under the Trump administration, we're going to take jobs out of China and bring jobs back to Michigan. We're going to keep Chinese cars the hell out of America. We don't want them. We don't want Chinese cars. Joe Biden wants to take your gasoline-powered cars and trucks, all about within 6 years, he wants to make them electric. It doesn't work. You know, if you want an electric car, I think it's great. I'm all for it. But if you want a gasoline combustion, if you want to have a hybrid, whatever the hell you want, you should be able to get. Everything will go to very expensive electric vehicles, which don't go, they just have such problems. But they have one problem that is insurmountable. If I want to drive from beautiful Michigan, let's say to Mar-a-Lago, what do I have to do? Stop about 7 times? It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. And they want to turn army tanks all electric, so that as we go into enemy territory, shooting and shooting and killing and shooting and taking it over, we keep their air nice and clean, right? Isn't that nice? Where do they think? You know, I said something before. I just left Wisconsin. We had an incredible rally in Wisconsin. You know, I got to do 2 of these things a day. You know why? Because I'm in New York all the time with the Biden trial. Biden trial. A fake trial that all of the legal scholars say is a disgrace. It's a fake trial. They do it to try and take your powers away, try and take your candidate away that's killing them in the polls. You know, if I didn't run, or if I was like in 4th place or 5th place or not doing well, none of those trials would exist. But we're beating them so big in the polls, your heart is going to swell. We got to get them out. And remember this, they also want to take your gas stoves. They want to give you very little water in your dishwashers and your washing machines. You know, they want washing machines with very little water. And I'm talking about in states like your state, you don't have a water problem. You do have a water problem. You have too much water. They want to take your water out of your washing machines, your dishwashers. They want to put water restrictors on your sinks and showers. You know, I ended all of that. People would buy a new home, and they were so proud, and they'd say, darling, it's so good. There's only one problem, darling, the sink. No water comes out, like drip, drip, drip. And darling, I have beautiful hair, but I can't do anything because in the shower, the water doesn't come out. Darling, I want to get out of this house. I hate it.